Hey, millionaire! Those of you who subscribe to Millionaire Post know that we love the lottery. This channel celebrates big lottery wins, and we sure have no problem with a bit of gambling. But did you know that playing the lottery can be surprisingly addictive? You might have heard someone say that before. But why is it so addictive? We're here to give you the science behind why the lottery can be addictive and what you can do to avoid their tricks. Do you know someone who might be addicted, or do you want to know more about this type of addiction so you can keep playing the lottery safely? Then keep watching. This is everything you need to know about lottery addiction. While people don't talk about it often, there are a lot of people who suffer from some kind of gambling addiction. Some estimates suggest that there are at least 10 million people in the US with this type of addiction. And if that statistic wasn't shocking enough, at least 750,000 of those addicts are between 14 and 21 years old. Scary, right? It's also important to know that the risk of gambling addiction more than doubles for college students. Not all of these gamblers are lottery players, but the lottery is one of the most popular forms of gambling, and it can be addictive too. So this is clearly a huge problem. But what's the difference between enjoying the lottery and a lottery addiction? There's a surprisingly simple answer. Buying a lottery ticket does not make you an addict. You become an addict when the urge to buy that ticket becomes overwhelming. Addicts will continue to buy lottery tickets even if it's harming them. People who become addicts won't be able to stop thinking about buying that ticket. They will eventually feel compelled to get another lottery ticket, even if it negatively impacts them financially, legally, or socially. Of course, this isn't normal gambling, and you definitely don't need to worry if you occasionally buy a ticket. If someone is taking out loans or damaging their relationships to buy another lottery ticket, that could mean they're addicted. It's not the addict's fault either. This kind of addiction is a serious brain disorder that causes them to behave in ways that aren't normal. While it's still the addict's responsibility to get help, their actions can be explained. There are actually different types of lottery addiction. Some people will become addicted when they feel that their only way to avoid financial ruin is to gamble anything they have left to fix the problem. Others become addicted to the emotional high you get when you take huge risks that could pay off in a big way. But those kind of gamblers usually prefer casinos to cheap lottery tickets. While these two roads of addiction are different, the results are pretty much the same. But what happens in the brain to cause this problem? Our brains contain a series of circuits known as the reward system. This system is linked to the pleasure and motivation centers of our brain. This part of our brain can be activated by any kind of rewarding experience, like receiving a compliment, having sex, or scoring a goal. Gambling also activates this system in our brain. Like winning a game, our brain sends out neurotransmitters when we gamble. These are chemicals that either activate or turn off specific neurons in the brain. One of these chemicals is dopamine. Dopamine is a pretty powerful chemical that gives us a feeling of euphoria and pleasure. It also creates motivation to repeat the rewarding activity again. This is normally a good thing. It motivates you to complete important tasks, but it can also be dangerous. Dopamine is the chemical that makes most drugs so addictive. Drugs create a high by forcing your brain to release up to 10 times the amount of dopamine that would normally be released by completing a rewarding task. Gambling works the same way. It causes a release of dopamine in your brain in higher quantities than normal. If people gamble often enough, they can become addicted to the dopamine release. In other words, lottery addiction isn't just psychological, it's also a physical addiction to the high dopamine levels released every time you place a bet or buy a ticket. Did you know that gambling addiction physically changes people's brains? Tell us your thoughts in the comments and keep watching for important information. Of course, you might be wondering why most people are happy to walk away from the poker table after a few rounds. Why can you only buy one lottery ticket instead of 20 without any problem? Well, it appears some people are naturally more likely to develop an addiction. Research has shown that most people who become addicted to things have a naturally underactive reward system in their brains. This means they don't get the same level of pleasure from normal rewarding tasks as most people people do. They tend to seek out activities that stimulate their reward system more than normal, like gambling and drug taking. This could explain why many problem gamblers also suffer from depression and anxiety. Often, people with lottery addictions also have drug or alcohol addictions. This is also potentially because many people who are easily addicted to things have problems with their brain's impulse control and decision-making areas. This means they literally don't have the same level of self-control that most people have. When people with these problems buy a lottery ticket, their brain receives a hit of dopamine that they're not used to, and they will normally immediately act on impulse to experience that feeling again without thinking about the long-term impact. They'll keep doing this long enough for their brain to physically change how it responds to this stimulation, and that is when the addiction sets in. The more they keep gambling, the more tolerance they develop to dopamine and its effects. They then need to keep doing it more and more to get the same high they did the first time, just like a drug addiction. Soon, no amount of lottery tickets will give them that euphoric feeling anymore. But if they stop, they will have to go through real dopamine withdrawal. This means people addicted to the lottery often get stuck in a state where they're not enjoying themselves, but they also can't stop. It's a vicious cycle that can be really difficult to climb out of without help. So, how do you know if someone has a lottery addiction? This can be a difficult type of addiction to identify because there are no physical signs to alert you to the problem. However, there are ways to spot when someone has a problem. Some of the behaviors that should raise red flags include gambling until there's no money left, chasing after losses, gambling larger and larger amounts of money, stealing or selling personal possessions to fund a gambling session, obsessively thinking about gambling, prioritizing gambling over school, work, or family obligations, feeling guilty or lying about gambling, wanting to quit but not being able to. Any combination of these symptoms could indicate a gambling addiction. If you see any of these habits in a friend or family member, you can try to offer them help. It can be difficult because addicts often try to deny they have a problem. But addictions get worse the longer they're left alone, and early treatment can help a lot. But luckily, there are loads of ways to get help. People with lottery addiction should talk to someone they trust or contact an addiction center for help. Have you helped a friend with a lottery addiction? Tell us how you handled it in the comments. You might just help someone out by offering your advice. The good news is that lottery addictions are treatable. They're often treated in similar ways to any other kind of addiction. Treatment will focus on helping the patient develop a healthy, balanced relationship with money. It will also aim to help the patient with impulse control to help them avoid gambling in the future. 12-step programs like Gamblers Anonymous have successfully helped many with a lottery addiction. This can be helpful if the person doesn't have the money for more intensive treatments. But if the patient has the money to seek more expensive forms of treatment, there are other options. One-on-one psychotherapy or cognitive behavioral therapy with a qualified psychologist can help. They can help address deeper emotional issues that might be causing the lottery addiction. This may or may not include medication. Sometimes if the person thinks they need a little extra help, they might choose to be admitted to a facility. This can help people who aren't able to stop themselves from buying more lottery tickets. They will be treated in a hospital-like facility with a scheduled program that includes therapy. Some people find that this structured lifestyle helps them a lot. Whichever treatment is needed, a lottery addiction doesn't have to last forever. For everyone else, make sure you stick to your limits to avoid becoming addicted. And don't forget that all gambling websites allow you to set limits, which can stop addiction before it starts.